Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Studio 78 podcast. I am your host, Nache from NacheSnow.com. Welcome, my friends, to another episode of Studio 78. And who do I have with me today? Miss LaKaye. Welcome, LaKaye.
Thank you, Nache. And also, may I say that I appreciate you wearing those camera earrings.
I love these earrings. I try to wear them like once a week, and I'll put them in the show notes so people can see them. They're like little enamel Polaroid earrings, and they're super cute. I got them in New York at this museum called Photographica. I believe that was the name of it, and I absolutely love them. All right, people, so show notes for this page will be available at NacheSnow.com/144. All the things that we mention will be in the show notes. So if we talk about any specific products, I'll make sure to link them, including these wonderful earrings. If you find this episode helpful, please share it. Sharing is caring, my friends. Also, please do me a solid. Just stop for a second if you're not driving and head on over to Apple Podcasts. Rate me 5 stars. I truly appreciate it. If you're on YouTube, please give me a thumbs up. And wherever you are listening, please subscribe. Know that we are starting the season off right, my friends. If you have not listened to past episodes, please listen. I have had some amazing women on, from macrame artists to a stationery artist. We've talked about finance. I just had a business coach on. They are sharing all the things, my friends, all the things. So please soak up everything they have to give, and it will help you have an amazing year. We're going to talk about goal setting today. And if you haven't already, check out episode 139. 6 months ago-ish from the time we're recording this, LaKaye and I sat down and we talked about what our dreams are, like our long-term goals. For example, we spent a lot of time talking about the types of houses we want and why we want those houses and the cost of those houses and what we need to do. And this is 2022, how we're still working towards those goals and what we're doing. And we're not going to get into the nitty gritty like we did last time. So if you want to hear specifically why we're choosing to do things, like definitely go back and listen to 139 with the realization that we pivoted on certain things. It's still like a really good episode. I re-listened to it again and it was good. I was like, oh yeah, that was what I was supposed to do. Yeah. But anywho, we're going to start out with a fun exercise, and if you happen to be in a place that you have a notebook or just a piece of paper, do the exercises with us. Write down your goals as we're talking about things. Write down ideas. If you're driving, no worries. I always have the timestamps in the show notes, and then I also have it on YouTube. So definitely go there after you listen to this episode if you want to challenge yourself to do the things that we're saying. All right. We're going to start out with the color of the year and the word of the year. And now the intention of this is to help you make thoughtful decision and kind of nudge you towards positive change. Not everybody does the color of the year. I've seen it on Instagram a lot, and I just kind of picked it up through the years, and I just like it. Maybe it's the designer in me, but I do use it to inspire me through the year. I try to buy maybe clothes or flowers or things in that color. But when I see that color, because I know it's my color of the year, it just helps me think positive. And so we're going to start off with LaKaye and find out what her color of the year is and why. So LaKaye, what did you choose?
Well, the color that I chose is, I have an interesting backstory, because I have been in the habit of buying everything in black for a very long time. Just a little tiny backstory is photographers tend to wear black because we don't reflect the color back onto our clients. So I made a habit of buying black shirts, black pants, especially when I was shooting weddings. So I have a whole closet full of black. And it also has extended to my accessories, my watches, my cups, my purses, my shoes. Everything is black. I made a decision this year to actually embrace color. And I'm going to leave that open. I'm just going to embrace color because it's out of my comfort zone completely. Like I might even wear red lipstick one day. Who knows?
Okay, let's simmer down now.
Oh, but also on a woo-woo note, to show you how I like to get, black absorbs energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I
Mm-hmm.
also was reading somewhere that if you're always wearing black, then you're absorbing the energy of other people and other things around you.
Mm.
So by wearing colors with intention, you can try to gain the energy that you want to receive.
So you're
Kind of.
kind of pushing back people's negative energy, basically. It's your
That's what I'm
shield.
gonna do.
It's your shield.
That's what I'm gonna do. I don't want your energy anymore. Well, yours
We're,
is fine. It's the other people.
we're lots of reflective colors. Go big,
Yes.
go bold. Like, I refuse your negative energy, people.
Yeah, I'm gonna look real colorful. Yellow on the top, peach on the bottom.
Okay. We'll watch her Instagram account, folks, and see if this holds true. No, but I love that. My color of the year is green.
It's cheating.
And
It's
look,
cheating, Nache.
for those people who know me, they know I love green. Now, last year my color was plum, which was a big deal for me. And even my Leuchtturm notebook that I use for bullet journaling was plum. And it's the only one because I've always purchased green. So in my series of journals, it sticks out like a sore thumb, but I wanted it to because after the year of 2020, I just wanted something to represent a new beginning. But this year I went back to a green notebook and my color is green. I love green. Green just brings me energy. If you guys follow me on Instagram, every once in a while I post like pictures of my home and I have plants everywhere. It's a whole vibe for me. And so I kind of want to just get back to me, if that makes sense. And the best way to do that is to continue to surround myself with green. I need more green in my life. So that is the color I have chosen.
And that's interesting because the psychology of green is all about money
Mm-hmm.
and wealth and also nature and energy. So I think that's a perfect color for what you're trying to accomplish this year because you're always talking about improving your personal environment, making environments better for your friends and your listeners, and also you're always trying to get us to get more money.
Money, money, money,
So
money. In a good way.
it's perfect.
So, yeah, folks out there, think about what color you would choose for this year. And what we'll try to find too, and I know LaKaye probably has some resource out there, is what different colors mean. And that might help you on your color journey. But what I will say is don't take too long to think about it. Okay, folks? Like, this
Were you
isn't
talking to me when you said that? I felt like you were directing that.
targeted.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we'll give you a resource. Okay, so word.
Well, I'm so glad you asked. My word of the year is connection. I need people around me to help me grow personally and professionally. And I got to get back into the habit of networking and meeting people. And it is going to kind of lead into my goals for later, but connection is important. And since I've been down in Virginia, and especially since COVID and everything, I've been really in the house and not going out and doing a lot of things. So I'm going to really put my efforts toward connecting with people, building my relationships, personal and professional relationships, and seeing what that brings me this year. Okay, how about
I
you?
like it.
Oh,
I
thanks.
like it. So my word of the year is ask, ASK, which seems like a really weird word. But I recently read two books, but one particular book that I wanted to reference for this is The Art of Asking by Amanda Palmer. And I did the audio version of this, which I recommend because not all audios are equal, but she is definitely a storyteller. Hers is written more of like a biography of her life. She talks about events that have happened in her life and how asking or not asking had an impact on her being able to accomplish certain things. And she really also encourages us to ask, like if we need help or if we need something or we want something, to not be being afraid to ask for it. So one of her examples is she used to be one of those statues out in the street that just stay still, and then if someone put like some coins or dollars in her thing, then she would then move and give a little flower or whatever. But it was like really interesting because she talks about the art of asking even as an artist. She was one of the first that made like over $1 million on Kickstarter. And she talks about how much pushback she got from that, and how some people and even artists thought it was weird asking for something, asking someone to pay you to create something or for your services or whatever. And it's just, it's different. The book was a lot different than I thought it would be, but it just got me to thinking. And one of the goals that we'll get into later is I want to get a virtual assistant this year to help me with my newsletter and possibly editing videos and things like that. But that is part of asking. It's asking for help when, for the most part, especially for this night and weekend hustle, I've done it myself. There's only one other time that I had someone at one point helping to edit some of my notes. But other than that, I've always just done it myself. And I think this year is I need to ask for help. I mean, of course, I'm going to pay the person that does it for me, but it's still a form of asking. And I love creating stuff, but I want to ask my audience more to support me and purchase things that I create that will hopefully make their life better. So I want to become more comfortable with asking.
Okay, I'm not going to go Oprah on you. There's so many questions I have built up in my head about. And when do you think this problem with asking for help occurred? How does it make you feel when you have to ask other people for help? But we're not going to do that.
We're not going to do that. But I will tell you, if I ask someone for something, I must really need something. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
If I came to LaKaye and I was like, hey, LaKaye, I need like $100, like LaKaye would immediately know like Nache is in like a real dark place.
Right. I would faint first. Then I would figure out how to get it to you right away because you must really need it.
So yeah, I don't know where that stemmed from. If I had my mom on the podcast, like maybe she could. But it's that independence, right? I feel like maybe it's my mom's fault, actually. How about that? You listening, Mom? It's your fault. You taught me to be so independent. I'm like, I don't need to ask anybody for anything.
That is so interesting. I feel the same way. But you know what, though? The way what's the saying goes? The way you teach people how to treat you. So if you never ask for help, then people are never going to offer you help. Have you ever heard that one?
Yes. And not to do a spoiler from the book, but one thing that she mentions, if you wait so long to ask and then you finally ask someone and they say no, it crushes your soul, right? Because, I mean, she might not have said it like that, but essentially it's because you've never done it, and then you wait all this time, and then you're disappointed, and then you never want to do it again. Versus if you get used to asking and you start asking early on, when people say no, it doesn't bother you as much, because you're used to hearing no. And it's okay. You're okay with it. So yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of psychology around asking, and no, people like, I will ask for people for stuff, but I mean, I try not to.
Or do you demand things? You demand things when you need it. That's different.
I ask.
Because you know how to be in charge. I don't think you have a problem with delegating. I think it's a personal ask.
That is true. If it's being a leader or like figuring out like how to complete a task and get a project done, 100%, like I could be like, hey, LaKaye, I need you to do this and that. I'll work on that. Hey, so-and-so, let's work on this. But yes, it is more when it's me, like a personal ask. Yeah, you couldn't have said that better. That is what I want to work on. Things that impact me, affect me, that will help me. And maybe it comes from not wanting to be, I don't know if this is the right word, selfish. Like I don't want to, or be a burden on anybody if I don't have to. So it's those personal asks. You're 100% right, Oprah. Yes, you are. Okay, enough about me. Okay, one thing I'll say too is recently watched the King Richard film on the Williams sisters father and just the way he raised them and how he coached them and all the things. And one of the quotes from that movie that was said over and over is that if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And I 100% believe that. I've always liked that quote. Now, with that comes execution, but a plan is good. You can get lucky and you can stumble upon opportunities because success is probably about 50% luck. But if you've never had a plan and you never really think through and write out what you want, I believe you potentially won't be as successful as you could be if you took the time to actually plan it and then go forth. Thoughts on that, LaKaye?
I think that's exactly where I need to brush up on. Like you said, we talked in depth about our goals for the next couple of years, but it's the execution that I really want to narrow down and focus on in the coming year. So I made all the plans. I'm a planner. I got my planner is pretty, it's full of stickers. I sit down every week and I make it look good, but I have to do the execution. You know what I think the difference is for me? And you taught me this. In my planner, I had put down appointments and things to do, right? But that's not
Mm-hmm.
a plan. That's just a calendar, you know?
Like
So
task or
this
just
task,
to do
right?
list. Yeah.
So what I need is an actual plan in my planner that tells me where I need to go and how to accomplish those goals step by step.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm working on it. It's gonna be pretty though,
Mm-hmm.
and not black.
Right. Yeah. What color is that planner?
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I'll show you later.
Okay, so let's get into just what our the yearly goals are really quickly, and then the systems that we plan to use in order to accomplish those goals. So for you, LaKaye, I mean, well, you know what? I'm gonna get into the systems first because since I know what systems you're gonna use, really you might not want to hit the year, you might want to hit quarterly. So just kind of like talk to us a little bit about that.
Okay. So I began reading, well, I do everything on audiobooks. I began reading The 12-Week Year by Brian Moran. And it's really about breaking down your long-term goals into, it's kind of like a quarterly plan, but they don't think about it like that in the book. It's almost like every week is a month. So you have to treat that week like it's the most important week there is. And then by the end of that quarter, that's your year. So that 12 weeks is your year.
Mm.
So it kind of psychologically affected me to make you want to work faster. And I think that's what their point is. Because the psychology behind the book is if you tell yourself, oh, I have all 2022 to achieve these goals, and then you wait, and then it's November and you're like, oh my goodness, I'm nowhere near my goals, and you freak out and you're like, I'm not going to do anything until January. Because the time between November and January doesn't count for anybody, but not according to the 12-week year philosophy. So
Mm.
you have three main goals for the year, and then you break them down by quarter and you tackle them in an execution type plan.
Okay, interesting. I was thinking about doing the 12-week plan because I know that's what you're doing. Another good friend of mine is doing the Commit 30. And as I was starting to plan out stuff, what I realized is even though initially I thought that maybe the 12-week plan, and I read that book years ago, would work for me this year, it just didn't. Like the way it was structured isn't how my brain is working today.
Mhm.
And so I was talking to LaKaye not too long ago, yesterday, and I was telling her that I like to work in 30-day stretches. So I was like looking for different plans online that were like that. I don't want to use the Commit 30 journal because yeah, I already have like my own system and it didn't I don't think it was for me, even though my friend is doing that. So, what I'm going to do instead is use a plan that is normally used for people who are starting a new job. And it's called the 30, 60, 90-day plan. And essentially, it's a plan that's meant to be establish guidelines for you to achieve like short and long term goals. And so you create SMART goals, and it's just a way for you to really figure out what you should be focusing on in 30-day chunks. And so you could think of it as like a quarterly plan a little bit, but instead of focusing on, I guess, LaKaye, as you were saying, a week is a month. For me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose what I want to work on for those 30 days, and then for 60 days, and then for 90 days. And so what that would look like, and I found like a good example online, is you break your goals into learning goals, performance goals, and personal goals. So on this one website, it said maybe your 30-day personal goals is attend a client meeting and participate in sales calls, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then your actions for those 30 days would then be research clients before the meeting, identify a client sale call opportunity. Another 30-day goal is like positive coworker relationships, and once a month learn. And then the actions for those two things might be meet immediate coworkers and have a working lunch regarding a specific topic. And so how that translates for me, without going into the goals specifically right now, is my personal goal. It would be for the next 30 days, get help with newsletter and social media. And the action would be hire a virtual assistant. You know what I'm saying? So you have those goals and then the action. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
Yes. And
Okay.
I find that very interesting. I didn't know it was related to people who start their jobs. That makes so much sense.
And then
And
I'll link to this is an article in Indeed that I referenced, and I love the breakdown and the template they use. So I'll include that in the show notes.
so one of my goals for the year, if you don't mind, if I might go
Go
ahead.
for it. Go
Okay.
for it.
I still want to photograph 50 people this year. So
Mm,
that breaks down to about 2 people a week.
mm,
And to break that down even further, I realized that I need to meet like 20 people a week. So, an actionable thing for me is to start attending networking events, which is back to my connection word. Because I have to get out and have to meet people. Because really, ideally, well, not ideally, realistically, you're only going to bring on about 1% of the people that you meet as a client, really,
mm, mm, mm.
realistically. To photograph 8 people a month, then I need to meet, what, 80 people a month?
Yeah, ish. For
And
1%.
maybe it's not a meet, maybe it's also making a connection via email or social media or something. 'Cause obviously, with the pandemic still raging as it does, I'm not going to be able to go out. I don't even want to physically go out and meet that many people at a time, but it'll be through my social media, which you've been on me for years, through my newsletters, and through the thing I'm going to add this year specifically is networking type events, whether it's Zoom or in person.
For me, and I have to, well, I'm going to go in a little weeds a little bit. So you've been listening back to the old episode from 6 months ago. I kind of wrote down all the things that I wanted to focus on in order to help meet my income goals for the year and to be able to purchase the townhome that I want, right? And another thing I mentioned on that episode is to squirrel away some money for my nieces too. And so, in order to do that, I wrote down VIP days, creating a course, beefing up my newsletter, and maybe having affiliate links or links to my items in there, like the course or the VIP days. Also looking at ads, because one of my other goals is to increase my podcast listenership, because I want to then do sponsorships on the podcast. I want VIP days, course, beef up the newsletter, do more ads, and then eventually get like also podcast sponsorships. And so what I'm working on now is what are the things that I need to do in order to successfully do all of those things. And as I mentioned earlier, like I want to get a virtual assistant for my dreams, plans, and ideas website, which is the shop to nachesnow.com. I, as an experiment, which I'm kicking myself now, decided to use Squarespace because I just wanted, because I usually always tell people to either use WordPress, Shopify, or Squarespace. But I'd never used a Squarespace site. I was just going off of what other people had told me. So I used Squarespace, and that was a big mistake. No disrespect to the Squarespace people, because people who love Squarespace. But I should have never put a critical site of mine on a platform that I wasn't familiar with, because I am not a Squarespace fan. If you're a Squarespace person out there and you're listening, don't worry. I will still keep Squarespace in my top 3. It's just not for me, love. And so I'm going back to Shopify because I know Shopify. I know WordPress. I know Shopify. And there are things that Shopify does that Squarespace can't. And so I'm going to do that because I'm going to have all my different products on there. And some of the products, like my free products, I want to do a pay what you want, because some people want to say thank you. For example, even my free Notion template that I have out there, or some other things, digital kind of planner things or whatever. So anyway, I want to get a VA. I want to do dreams, plans, and ideas, redo it in Shopify, do some of my products differently, like doing pay what you want on a couple of them. I want to build out a course that I sell. I need to come up with a structure for my VIP days. And folks, what I'm thinking is on Saturdays, I would carve out a time where I take maybe 2 people a month for $1,000 a pop. And basically we spend 4 hours tearing apart whatever you need me to tear apart and getting you organized, because I can help you with all the things. And so it's working together to help someone create systems and a structure and clean house. And then last but not least, what I need to do is plan out my YouTube strategy, because I really, really want to focus on YouTube, and what I do for YouTube will impact my newsletter and social media. And after I read the book, We Should All Be Millionaires by Rachel Rodgers, it reaffirmed some of the things that I already knew and that I already told myself I needed to do, like get a VA, like do VIP days. And so I definitely recommend that book. And so, anywho, that's to say, I just wanted to give you a general idea of the products that I'm working to get out, the strategy that I'm going to use in order to or the task that I'll need to complete in order to implement the strategy that will hopefully bring additional income and also help me grow the podcast.
That was a lot,
That
but it was
was a
good.
lot.
But I'm going to jump back to what you were saying about Squarespace for one hot second. It's because you don't do Squarespace because you are a design nerd. You love a good website and you love to control a website. So for your listeners who are not graphic designers or not web savvy, I still think Squarespace is a fair place to start. Your word is influential, Nache. You can't just be out here telling
Hey,
the
I put
people.
a caveat like that. Squarespace will still be good for some people, because Shopify, it's limited what you could do design wise. It's not like WordPress either. It's just I I am more comfortable with WordPress and Shopify. It works for my brain. In
Mm-hmm.
Squarespace, it frustrated me. It's just because it just
Because
doesn't work
you couldn't
for
control it.
me.
Because you couldn't control it.
But you can't control Shopify. Shopify to me was more intuitive, and it gave me more options when it comes to selling products. Because now I've used all 3.
Mm-hmm.
So Squarespace is definitely a Hail Mary. If you need a bare bones website, go
Oh my
Squarespace.
gosh, no. See, it's better than
That was
Wix.
unfair. That was
It was
unfair.
unfair.
That was.
It was unfair. I think that if you are a brand new business and you don't have the thousands of dollars or the years and years of design experience that Nache does and her,
Shopify.
no,
Shopify and
Squarespace.
Squarespace is like the same price.
Well, what if you're not selling an item? Is Shopify only for selling items?
You can no, you can use Shopify for anything. It's well known for selling products, but you don't have to sell a product.
Well, okay, all right. I'm gonna check it
I
out
mean,
then. Dang, poor Squarespace. Anyway,
but hey, I'm not saying don't use it because I've even had Squarespace developers on the podcast,
mhm,
designers, web designers. So Squarespace for some people is golden. I've seen some beautiful Squarespace accounts. So I want to make it super duper clear. I am not a Squarespace hater. There are some other platforms out there that I do not like, and I'm not even going to mention them. But Squarespace is still in my top 3 of websites that I recommend for people. Honestly, you guys, it just doesn't work for me.
okay,
But it's good.
I'm happy with that answer.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
wait, I have
Go
something
ahead.
else. I am also impressed with your VIP day structure because I've seen some offerings for people with the personal help and all that, but it'll only be like an hour. So I've never signed up for anything because what can I do in an hour? I still am getting to know somebody in an hour. I can't have them entrust them with my business to get that information back. So I like that you're structuring yours to be 4 hours and really digging in. And knowing you, you're probably going to do a lot of research prior to even meeting with them so you can help them
Mhm.
uncover things in that amount of time. So I think that is amazing. I think it's a really
Yeah.
good value.
So it's like an invest in yourself, and my hope is if someone is paying $1,000 to invest in themselves to be better at whatever it is, right? Like email structure, maybe planning out their finances, or determining how to set up Calendarly, or determining they should invest in as far as like software applications and to improve their systems. I, because I'm very detail oriented, I will ask him a ton of questions, and we will painfully go through what they're doing, what they should not be doing, and what I think they should do. And now everything won't be solved that day,
Hmm.
but they at least will walk away with, okay, if I take the time to execute what we just came up with, they are going to be more efficient,
Hmm.
they are going to be more action oriented, and things will just be cleaner.
Hmm.
And so it's really me consulting. Like, I'm not going to necessarily get into all their software and clean up all their software. We're going to we're going to talk about what they can do to organize their photos, create a social media strategy, use Notion as a knowledge management system, whatever it is. I don't want to lock myself down into one particular thing. I want to see what the appetite is out there. And but I like that because it's something that I love to do. I feel like it's something that I'm really good at, and it's also a high dollar item that offers a lot of value. And instead of me doing little stuff here and there, I can have like big impact in someone's life, hopefully. So we'll see how it works out.
Wonderful.
So yeah. So anywho, we'll go back to you, LaKaye, because I mean, essentially for me, I've told you guys everything that I'm thinking about doing, and that I am working towards using that 30, 60, 90-day plan to plug in certain things so I know what I'm working on every 30 days. And in conjunction with that, I'm also going to come up with a content planner. So I'm more strategic about YouTube videos, newsletters, and social media. And I'm hoping that they all tie in together. So what are you the rest of your goals, and how are you going to plug those into the 12-week plan?
I'm going to take the first 12 weeks to establish some systems. There's some things that I want to clean up. Like I feel like this is the beginning of the year. This is a good time to reevaluate my website, really develop a marketing plan and not just I'm guilty of looking at what another person has done and trying to implement what they do, but it's not coming from my own place of authenticity. So I need to sit with that and really get my own systems together. and come up with establishing the bricks of my business right now. So
Mm-hmm.
revamping my business plan, revamping my website, making sure all my files are backed up properly, and getting everything up to date with that. So I want to clean house the first 12 weeks. But with that, I'm also sending out, connecting with clients that I had from last year. So I've sent out all of those emails to connect with them and to thank them for a good year and to welcome them into this year and to invite them back. So all of those taken care of last year and getting established for this year, things are going to happen first. And then at the end of the quarter, it's built in, end of the year, sorry, which will end in March. It's built in that you reflect and then start planning for the next time. So I haven't planned beyond that. And I think that's part of the
Mm-hmm.
beauty, because I tend to have 65 different goals that I try to accomplish all at the same time, and then I do none of them because
Mm-hmm.
it's
Mm-hmm.
overwhelming and I'm looking at this huge list and I just can't. So I'm going to go and watch Netflix. I don't really do that, but metaphorically speaking. Shall we get into the hits and misses from 2021?
Go for it. So can I do the setup for this?
Do it.
We had a long conversation about what our plan is for the next couple of years and our priorities and all of that good stuff. I get a little text message, eventually a phone call. Do you
You just
feel
gonna
called
put me
out?
out like that? That's your setup?
That was dirty, but yeah, it is. Where someone decides to change the plan. Oh, okay. Now go ahead. Go forth. I'll leave it
I
with
was
that.
made an offer I couldn't refuse. Is that how it goes in the movie? I haven't seen it. But
Right.
so what Nache is trying to say is we had a very long talk about my business goals, and I was just gonna do business, 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 and that was gonna be the bulk of my income. However, I was recruited by my former school to come and teach a couple of classes there. And I talk a lot about my business, but I teach photography, design, and videography at a couple of local colleges and universities. So, well, now it's a couple because I said yes and I agreed to the contract, and Nashay basically
Shunned her and didn't talk to her
she
until
did.
2022.
She was like, "You're out of here. You're off the list of friends. You're not on my
Done with
podcast
you.
anymore or anything." It's like, man,
Done.
terrible. No, but there were some personal things going on at the time, and still kind of going on, that made me feel like I wanted a little bit more security. And while that is true, what I've also come to realize is that nothing is secure in this wild, wild west that we call 2020s. And because of that, I don't have any regrets about it, but I am going to go back to focusing on my business first. And then if the school things happen to fall off, they happen to fall off. And I hope they fall off because my business is going so well and I've gotten so many clients and I've met my goals and I'm achieving so much that I don't hold on to those specific gigs as a crutch. So can I be friends with you again, Nishay, or what? Can I get back into the
Sure.
club?
Fine. You're back in the Millionaires Club. And for those of you guys who don't know, we have a Millionaires Club on Notion that where we keep track of our goals and stuff.
Oh, thank
So
you.
yes, you're back in. But it was fair. I understood without going into details LaKaye's decision. But because of that, some of the things that projects she mentioned on the episode and other things that she wanted to do was put on the back burner because it's a matter of time, right? And if you're
Hmm.
teaching multiple courses and raising a child, right, and want to spend time and do all the other things, like their sacrifices must be made. And so for the end of 21, LaKaye decided to make that sacrifice, which I didn't give her a hard time about at all.
What? I have the
but
receipts.
but in all fairness, a lot went on for me in 21 too without going into very specific details. And so my focus was switched to, and even in the podcast, for example, I really wanted to do this audiobook on productivity, but I wasn't able to record it the way I wanted to and then publish it. And so the people who bought the book, I actually just ended up giving them a refund and just apologizing to let them know that at this time I wasn't able to execute it, but I did send them a consolation prize, which was my Life Cleanse journal, just to say thank you for supporting me. And so with that said, I do now have the space and capacity to do the things that I wanted to do last year, this year. And so and I do have a renewed, I don't know, focus, if you will. So for example, I talk about productivity a lot and creating systems, and I love sharing with you guys like my Notion and how I set up my phone and my house and things that I do around my house. And I touch on these things, but what I realize is I need to do more of it. And when I look at other productivity people around the net on YouTube and Instagram, I'm like, when I look at my feed, I'm not I give you guys like these tips and doses here and there, but I want to be even more intentional about having content that is specifically giving you bite-sized productivity tips. So I think I needed the last 6 months in the beginning of this year talking to all my boss friends to figure out what that looks like. And now it is very clear to me what it looks like. And now I just need to figure out how I can execute what I need to do, which is where a VA comes into play in coming up with a good videoing time on the weekend, because that's where I can get my best light and all the things. And so, yeah, I have a better strategy now. I can't explain it. So I didn't get to do some of the things I mentioned, but I think that's good because it wouldn't have been executed the way I wanted it to be. But this year, I feel like is the year.
And with that, we also have to allow ourselves a little bit of grace too. We gave
Mm-hmm.
ourselves 2 years to try to accomplish these very specific goals that we have. And
Mm-hmm.
even though we had a little sidetrack, it doesn't mean that we are that much off. It just means we have
Mm-mm.
to really get back to what we're doing. So we have to give ourselves some grace, and we have to allow for flexibility. And that's for anybody setting goals. You can write down whatever, but the way things are right now, the climate, everything just changes so quickly. You can't be so rigid with your goals that a sidetrack completely throws you off and you get depressed because you didn't accomplish this, that, and the other.
I
So
agree.
I think another thing with doing these goals, whether it's in 12 weeks or a month or 60 days or whatever, is it gives you time to reevaluate at the end of that term, which is also different from trying to plan for an entire year. Because if you
Mm-hmm.
don't know until, again, I'll use November, if you don't know until November that you haven't come anywhere close to your goals, you have that urge to just give up for the last 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if I'm looking at February 21st and I'm like, oh man, I didn't get anywhere close to where I need to be, I still have time in the year, the calendar year, to work it out, even though I might have missed it in my 12-week year.
And as we wrap up here, I want to end just maybe just talking for the last couple of minutes about things that people should keep in mind. And as you were talking, some things that popped into my head is committing to taking the action. Like it's about mindset. And right in Rachel Rogers' book, We Should All Be Millionaires, it's interesting because at the beginning of that book, a lot of it is about mindset. And sometimes when I know about mindset, I feel like that's how I was able to achieve what I have been able to achieve through the years. But sometimes you forget or you get out of practice, or I think it's just always a good reminder, especially when you get stuck in a rut, that or you're not doing what you think you should do, that maybe that is your mindset, that you need to refresh it and switch it or whatever in order to accomplish what you need to accomplish. So it was just like a good reminder of having a good mindset and being like, okay, I know I can do this. This is how I can do this, and I'm going to do this. Another thing is, in order to take action, like when I don't achieve something I say I'm going to do, I know it's because I didn't plan it out clearly. It goes back to the plan. And I didn't put things down in a calendar. I didn't commit to like doing something this week. And it was funny because LaKaye and I was having a conversation, and I told her I'm pretty good with committing to different things, to the point if I say I'm going to do something this week, I don't necessarily have to be like, oh, I'm doing something this week and it's going to be Friday morning from 9 to 12, even though sometimes I will do it. I just know like, oh, in my free time, I need to make time for it. But the thing about it is, but somewhere documented, I know by Sunday it needs to get done. So either I can do it early in the week and be smart about it, or I'm going to be ticked off because I got to wake up early on Sunday and achieve it because I know I'm going to achieve it. Now, a smarter way to do that 100% is like really picking out specific times and putting it into the calendar and committing to doing the things, especially once you've mapped out what your plan is and what your tasks are. So I would say if you're not good at committing, do that in order to keep yourself accountable. And then the last thing I'll say before turning it over to LaKaye is really figuring out what system you want to do. Like sometimes people are like, oh, I don't need a system. But if you find that you're not really accomplishing what you want to accomplish, look at the different types of systems out there, like the 12-week plan, and try to find one that resonates with how your brain works, and go for it and just try it this year. And I've read tons of articles on different types of plans. So I'll try to find a couple that I can put in the show notes. And okay, if you have some too, just let me know. And just read through them and research plans and then stick to it and see what happens. Any
Yeah.
tips?
Well, I was going to ask you, I already know the answer to this, but for your listeners, I don't think that you are the type of person who needs an accountability partner, whereas I am. So, when you were talking about how you can look at your week and you're like, if by Sunday morning I haven't done this, I have a hard day ahead of me, because you will be your own accountability partner. So my suggestion for your listeners is, if you need that type of motivation, to partner up with somebody who is like-minded, who is at the same level you are, maybe a little bit ahead of you in terms of business, and try to find that person who is going to motivate you, or at least check up on you, or write things down in their magic notebook like Nache does to me, so she can bring it back up 6 months later to remind me of where I am, where I need to step
Saying,
my
got them
game up.
goals right here, even in the Notion, even in the Millionaire Club page. I see them.
So yeah, I think that's really key. If you're not, and it's not that I'm not self-motivated. Any person who starts a business or wants to start a business has a level of self-motivation. It's just maintaining that focus for me, with being a mother and teaching and starting a business and having, and how dare I have additional interests outside of those three things. So if you're like anything like me, then you might want to find another person, which again leads me back to connection. That's really what I'm trying to do. Find that person to help you achieve your goals.
Actually, I do work. So I think a lot of times because I hold people accountable, they don't think I need an accountability partner. But what I do is I just use my boss friends as accountability partners and they don't even know it. So when I talk to you, you always say, what have you done? When I talk to Monique, who I've had on a podcast before and talked to recently, she'll send me a text. Did you do the thing? And so when you guys put me on notice, I'm like, oh, yeah. So yeah, I'm working on that, this weekend. And so I think regardless of who you are, having an accountability partner or being part of an accountability plan
Mhm.
is key. I think it keeps you on task because somebody's going to be asking you like on a weekly basis, have you done this?
Mhm.
So that's all I had to say about that. Okay,
Yeah, because
what's your next
otherwise
one?
you will
Oh
spend
yeah.
4 hours on Instagram before you just scrolling because you don't have anything better to do, or you don't think you have anything better to do,
Yeah.
which was my former life. So I wanted to make sure that we mention, like, when you're making the goals, to make them smart goals, because it's one thing to have a goal. I could say I want to photograph 80,000 people a month. It's not realistic, so that's not a smart goal, even though that would bring me the funds that I would need to make. So I never remember this acronym. Do you remember what it is? The SMART
I
goals?
knew you was going to. It's specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely.
It's so funny that I always forget the realistic. It's always the R for me. I wonder what that says about my personality.
Dreamer.
So, not so funny story, but I broke my Apple Watch a few
Hmm.
months ago, and I have not worked out since because because my watch was keeping me. It was measuring my progress, and I was so excited. I was
Mm-hmm.
getting so good, and I was building time, walking, and I was getting less winded. I was like, "This is great." I was measuring my steps, and now it's gone, and I haven't replaced it yet. And now my health is failing. Thanks a lot.
Just
Watch,
saying, invest in yourself, my friend.
and you're right. I need to do it.
Get another watch. And get an additional client. That means 3 clients next month so you can get an Apple Watch.
You're absolutely right.
I think the 30, 60, 90 day, for example, method appeals to me because of when I think of the SMART goal going towards like the timely one, which sometimes people forget. When I say I'm going to do something within 30 days, like if I commit right now and say in 30 days, you guys, I'm going to be talking to you about how I'm relaunching my dreams, plans, and ideas site, then
Hmm.
it's timely. I'm going to do that in 30 days. I have complete control over it because
Hmm.
it's on me. If I take the time this weekend to start working on it, it'll get done, right?
Hmm.
And so making sure it's not that is something that you can start doing immediately and take action on, I think is really key too. So I just wanted to zone in on the timely part.
Hmm. Hmm.
I think, yeah, that's a lot. I hope that helps you a little bit. We'll definitely come back and do a check in maybe in a month because right now, as we're talking to you, we have actually talked. This is the third time, is it, that we've talked this week? And the first 2 times we were going to record this episode, but we found ourselves really deep diving into what we wanted to do and how we wanted to plan it out. And so we're still putting the final touches on that, but we at least wanted to make sure that you guys understood our thought process, find out what we're working on, and then you're going to be our accountability partners because every month, LaKaye is committing to coming on and letting us know if she's achieved her goal.
Oh my God.
We're recording on January 13th, 2022.
It made my palms sweat
And
just
I
thinking.
also want to just put out there that she is going to read We Should All Be Millionaires with Rachel Rodgers, which I just finished. And she is going to use that to help motivate her. That is all.
It'll be one of many books.
All right, people, if you found this useful, please let us know. Send us a message, comment under this post. If you love this episode, please share it. Sharing is caring. Anything that we have that will help you get organized in 2022 will be in the show notes, nachesnow.com/144. And I look forward to hearing. I would love for you guys to either comment on the show notes or comment on the post if you're listening to this as it goes out. What are you working on? What are your 2020 goals? Declare it. Put it out there. And even if you don't want to put it out there to the world, DM me and LaKaye. Let us hold you accountable. And if you're interested in one of them VIP days,
Hey.
I'm your girl. And I'm hardcore. But know that I'm hardcore. And Kay
Yes.
has said on previous episodes, I play no games.
None. So basically, I owe you thousands and thousands of dollars.
I mean, I'm just saying. But that's okay because I'll be hanging out in your beach condo, so it'll
Right.
work out. But yeah, share the episode, rate me 5 stars on Apple Podcasts if you liked it, thumbs up on YouTube, subscribe wherever you are listening to. And if you really want to do me a solid and you're still listening and you want to hold me accountable, go over to YouTube, youtube.com/Nache Snow or nachesnow.com/YouTube. You can go either one and subscribe to my channel because I didn't meet my YouTube goals last year, but that was my bad. But I really want to this year because I am excited. I have all these ideas and contents about productivity, self-care, systems, mindfulness, and I plan to figure out how to do short videos and make time to like edit those videos with my new VA to do it. So do that as a favor for me. Okay, we out.
Bye. Thank you so much for having me back on. Talk to you soon.
Bye.